On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, spring cleaning your debt. So, welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and welcome back, as always, your financial coach, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
Shawn, how you doing? I'm doing well. You know, I'm. It's one of those where spring is, and the air is clean, and it's this new change, and the allergies are up, and I got no money because anyway, it's a good time. Let's do it like that.
I laughed at the beginning because I thought where you were going was, "Hello, podcast world. How you doing out there?"
Next time, then. There you go. I didn't know that was an option. I think I'm gonna go there.
The rock star intro.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, lots of stuff going on in April. We got Financial Literacy Month.
Yes,
is April.
Full swing.
It is in full swing. We've got tax day, maybe.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this in an area that's been impacted by either hurricanes Milton or what was the other one? Milton and Helene, right? Helene and Milton. If you were impacted by one of those two hurricanes, my understanding is that the tax deadline, instead of April 15th, which is by the time you're listening to this episode, April 15th will have come and gone.
Right.
But the deadline was extended to May 1. Now, that is not tax advice. That is not legal advice. Double check with a local CPA if you are unsure. But my understanding is that those states impacted by those two storms got an extension from the IRS from April 15th to May 1. So that may provide a little bit of relief with people that procrastinate and wait to get their tax returns in until the last minute, like me, apparently.
Me, as well.
Yeah. So I just got, as we record this, I just got all my stuff to the CPA.
That might be a little late there, buddy, but that's okay.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
They must like you.
So, the other thing that happens in April.
What's that?
Spring cleaning.
Yeah, that's true. I'm already getting ready for cleaning the house up, the outside. It's there's like this layer of pollen that I need to clean up. So, but yes, it is that time where the winter is done. This the nicer weather should be around your area. I mean, I've heard some snow still in the Midwest, but
I've heard snow. I've heard hail. Although last night it was in the low 70s. It was gorgeous out last night.
Don't rub it in.
When I went out to dinner.
Yeah, you got some people in New York still who are still complaining about that.
Well, so for you same people, yes, the weather's gorgeous down here in Florida, here in the Tampa Bay. My car is a nice orange color. It should be red, but it's covered in a layer of pollen.
Nice.
And my kids are writing words on the back window in the pollen.
Me.
Yeah. So I got to get my car clean. So for all the great weather we're having, I got to blow my nose every 10 minutes because the pollen is just jacking with my sinuses.
There you go. But yes, spring cleaning. It is that time. But we can do some spring cleaning with our finances. That's got to be fun. I imagine.
Well, I don't know what's more fun, spring cleaning the house or spring cleaning your finances.
I know which one's better for my back. Let's put it like that. Because but no, it's funny how what we're gonna do with spring cleaning in the house, right? Closets, garages. We're gonna be looking for things maybe we don't need or we need to do less of or buy less of, right? So why can't we do that with our with our finances?
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. What could we be doing at this time where we're going from winter to spring? What could we be looking at differently when it comes to our finances?
Well, there's some stuff that you put away that you don't need anymore. Things like holiday decorations, things like sweaters and winter clothes. And just like that, you can also look at your budget and say, well, what things am I paying for right now that I don't need to be paying for? I mean, how many subscription services do you have? I mean, I know that at our house, we just got, we've got Disney Plus, we've got Hulu, we've got ESPN, we've got YouTube TV, we've got Paramount Plus. How many of those things do we really need to be subscribing to on a monthly basis, on an annual basis? I just called yesterday, as a matter of fact. So my wife signed us up for this Instant Ink program.
Instant Ink, okay.
Instant Ink. It's through HP.
Okay.
And so we have a little HP printer at home, and my wife signed us up for this Instant Ink program, which sends you ink refills for the printer. And so when I shifted that invoice, or I shifted that bill payment over to the law firm after she passed because it was on one of her cards that ended up getting canceled. And so I looked and I noticed I've been paying $7 a month for this instant ink for a year. You know how many ink refills I've received in the last year?
Please tell me more than one.
Less than one.
Oh no!
So I called Instant Ink and I went, I'm paying $7-8 a month. I've never received an ink refill from you guys in the last year. What's going on? Once we got everything straightened out, I had to give them her email address. I had to give them some other information. Once we got everything straightened out, what they said was, my printer sends it's an HP printer.
Yeah.
And so it sends HP a report of the usage of the printer. Now it's the home printer. So if I really had a big print job, I bring it here to the office.
Sure.
So we don't do a lot of printing. And so the printer hasn't communicated to HP that the ink levels are running low, so they haven't sent us
any new
a thing yet.
Sure.
And I went, so I'm paying $8 a month and I don't need a printer cartridge. And the guy said, well, based on your usage, it looks like you can go down to the blah, blah, blah plan, which is only $2 a month. Sweet. I save $5 a month.
Sure.
Which, $5 a month, okay, but 5 times 12 is $60.
Yeah.
$60 is a lunch for the staff.
Mm-hmm.
$60 is 2 boxes of paper that I need.
Right. So put it somewhere else.
It's a little savings, but it adds up. Something else. I noticed that I had 2 automatic payments come out for my QuickBooks program. One that was like $1,000, and one that was, I want to say $700 or $800, so like $1,800. And I called QuickBooks and I said, "What is going on? Why am I getting charged?" And I looked last year. I think I got charged like, I don't know, less than $1,000.
Much less than that.
Yeah, less than $1,000 total.
Sure.
And so I said, "What's going on?" And so one of them is my payroll program. One of them is just the QuickBooks program itself. And so the guy asked me a couple of questions, and how many employees do you have, and what do you use QuickBooks for, and do you use it, on a desktop, and blah, 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 blah. And he said, well, we've got a plan where instead of making 2 payments, we can wrap that into 1 payment.
Okay.
And it'll be, I want to say like $1,100. So I took it from $1,800 annually down to $1,100 annually.
That's big.
Again, saving myself $700.
You need the services, but if you're not, again, if you took the opportunity to see if there was a way to lower costs or just say, hey, are we still using the service at the level that is expected, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So you could do that from a business standpoint. You could do that from a personal standpoint. I'll give you my story. I recently, car insurance here in Florida is kind of expensive. So my daughter got added to the plan, and I got a sticker shock, a very big sticker shock in regards to like, wow, that went from X amount a month to $1,500 a month.
Wow.
For car insurance. Now, again, I have a 16-year-old. I have a 21-year-old. So, yes, we got young drivers, but that's a lot of money. So I was like instantly shopping around. I said, broker, let's talk. Let's get some quotes. So I was able to, a perfect time, right? I guess springtime was a perfect time to make the change. Went from a proposed $1,500 down to $695, which is still, it's a tremendous, still a lot, but it's for 4 cars. So it's still a lot, but it ain't $1,500.
Well,
so that's not going to happen.
$600 a month for 4 cars. That's what, like $150 per car per month.
Exactly.
I'm paying for one driver, 1 car. I'm paying $207 a month.
Exactly.
So, and my sister just got her insurance renewal, and from what I understand, because my niece just turned 16, and got a used car, a new car for her, but a used car, and my sister's car insurance went more than tripled.
Ugh. I'm telling you, it's crazy. I mean, I get it. There's more risk. You're a new driver, so I understand all those things, but I think the thing here in Florida that I've been noticing is really, you have to worry about like uninsured drivers here in Florida. So that seems to be also jacking up the prices as well. So It's yeah.
Yeah.
That was my opportunity to go tap out. Let's go and see if we can get a better deal, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So I think that's really what it is going through your budget and looking at it personally, going through your budget
Yeah.
and going through, if you own your own business, going through that budget
thing.
and saying, where can I cut? Where can I save? And here's something I'll even combine here is that when you're doing your spring cleaning, you know, what we're coming up to, again, the first Saturday of May is my community garage sale.
Yeah.
So as you're doing your spring cleaning at home, what stuff can you donate and maybe get the deduction for the donation? What stuff can you garage sale and make a couple of bucks for? And again, you know, you're not gonna make a living at garage sailing.
You can.
But
another side hustle. But yes,
if I can get rid of some of my junk, some of my very valuable sentimental
stuff you don't use,
stuff I don't use. If I can turn stuff I don't use into cash,
by all means.
And that's just it's girl math. It's free.
This is boy math. There you go. I love that. This guy. No, but it's you put yourself in a position where, like, you know, you're decluttering your house, you're decluttering your mind as well. It's time to be able to kind of like, oh, okay, how can I think differently? You know, if you're looking at your budget in the past, again, it's Q2 right now, right? Mm-hmm. So the first quarter's done, first 3 months of the year. Can you identify any other leaks? You talk about subscriptions, you talk about pricing, you talked about certain things that you may not be using. Again, insurance is this is the great opportunity to go, what can I, if I'm still overspending, what changes can I still make from that standpoint? So that we can make those adjustments and still have a good next quarter on what we're spending. Look at your goals. Like we start the year, right, at the beginning of the year and go, wow, like I'm going to do all this and the gym's going to tackle this and I'm going to do, hey, 3 months in, are those goals still dated? Do they need to be changed? They need to be updated at this point. Let's make those updates and then of course make updates to the budget to allow us to tackle those things as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just different ways to kind of tackle this, but it's, you know, it's not just like the money, it's not just the stuff, it's the mindset too. Like, do you feel like you're making progress?
Well, here's the other thing I'll say, if by analogy, you know, when I am constantly, right now, for those of you looking on video, for those of you that are on the Patreon page that see the behind the scenes video, my desk right now is a disaster.
Really? Not that bad.
Exactly. Now, if you're watching the video, the only thing you see on the desk is my water bottle, my notes for the show, George and his iPad, his computer.
iPad, yeah.
That's all you see. But in my mind, because I've got that little stack of paper over there of projects that I need to knock out, my desk is a disaster area.
Okay, you're.
Now, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. My dad had stacks. So you walk into my dad's office, you didn't know. It looked like piles of paper being held up by other piles of paper. You couldn't tell that there was a desk underneath my dad's piles of paper.
Sure.
But he knew where everything was. Here's where I'm going with this, though. When you clean out your house, when you clean off your desk, when you declutter, when you brain dump onto a checklist of things that I want to accomplish, when you write down what your goals are, when you organize your papers and your house and all that other stuff, that has an impact on your mental.
Absolutely.
That has an impact on your mindfulness. It feels good to have everything cleaned up and put away and where it's supposed to be. And so I think that has something to do with it as well. In other words, even if you don't save a lot of money, even if you're only saving $5 a month on Instant Ink, going through and just doing an inventory of what are my expenses and what's going on and where am I, and now it's Q2 and how did I do in Q1 and what do I want to accomplish over the next 3 quarters, even going through that mental exercise will be helpful.
Absolutely. It gives you clarity. I think a lot of times too, you know, we hear in the news today, we hear on social media, everything is a little crazy out there, you know, when it comes to the finances between tariffs and increased costs and eggs being more than steak. Like there's a lot of crazy and there's a lot of concern that we're all kind of dealing with. Imagine having the ability to kind of like, okay, let me look at my finances, see what adjustments I can make, and gain control with what you're doing. Don't worry about the rest of the world. You're worrying about what you're doing itself. That's liberating.
Right.
That's you're right. You may not have the debt taken care of, or you may not have hit the savings goals. But if you have clarity on what you want to accomplish and what you want to do, and then have an actual plan to execute on it, boy, for me, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That gives me something to be motivated and propel me to move forward on. And sometimes that's what we need when we take these opportunities with a change in time, change in spring going into summer, and all these. There's just opportunity for us to always mentally go, oh, what's next? This is a good thing, and keep yourself clear on what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll even take it a step further. I mean, by the time this episode comes out, we'll be about 8 months until Christmas.
Oy.
But what if you could put away $100 a month between now and December? You'd have $800 saved up to buy Christmas presents.
Right.
Or what if it was $200? You'd have $1,600 saved up
whatever.
to buy Christmas presents.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you started putting away now, so that when you get to Christmas, you've got money saved up to buy presents?
Plan ahead.
Or we've got, school starts again. We're almost done. School will be over in May, but it starts up again in August. And I know that I've got to buy school supplies for the boys, especially now with one going into middle school.
Woohoo.
The second one, the younger one, going into middle school. If I saved up $100 a month between now and August, that would be another 4 months. That'd be another $400. That's about what I spend on school supplies every year, $400 or $500.
So you're eliminating the stress, the future stress of like, how am I going to pay for this? You may be also eliminating, I don't want to create new debt, put it on a credit card, any of those things. So the stress is you're looking to be more proactive in how you save, so you can pay everything with cash. And on top of that, you have the ability to eliminate some stress or fears going into August, where you can go, oh, I've got the money. This is covered. And it sounds so small, right? You're thinking like, oh, it's only $400, or it's only, you're saving for Christmas. It's like, why am I going to worry about it in April? This is the thing is we want to change the way we think about spending our money itself, especially if you're on the journey where I don't want to create new debt and I want to have more money to do things, whether it's saving, investing, whatever it might be. These are the small changes where it's like, start small in the sense of like, be proactive in your savings for buying stuff.
Yeah,
that's going to change the way you think and do and spend your money, really.
And you can even go the other direction and say, okay, maybe I didn't accomplish the goals I wanted to accomplish in the first quarter. I got 3 more quarters to accomplish my goals. So let me take an extra $500 and throw it at my debt every month. Let me avalanche it. Let me, what is it? Avalanche, snowball. Let me snowball it.
Avalanche.
Let me avalanche it and try to pay it down, so that when I get to, instead of saving up $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, let me drop my debt by $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and then I can go and get my Christmas presents in December or whatever it is. Again, we talked about tax day. People getting refunds. What are you doing with those refunds?
Yeah.
Are you going to put them in savings? Are you going to pay down debt? Are you going to what I like to do every year is look at what is the refund that I'm going to get this year, and then adjust my withholdings so that I get more money during the year. I get less of a refund next year. But if I get more money in my paycheck every month, I can put more money in savings. I can put more money towards debt.
Proactive.
I can put.
Yep.
So I think it's more. I like the analogy of spring cleaning, but I think we got to broaden the analogy of, in terms of our finances, what can we continue to do today that will help? What will Shawn in December thank Shawn in April for doing?
Exactly. And I think there's certain things that you would need to do. You had mentioned, right, to paying off debt, saving a little bit more, making adjustments to the pay period so that you can get more at home, from a pay stub standpoint. Again, what are your goals? You're absolutely right. Well, I thought I was going to save more. I thought I was going to do this, or pay off debt more, or save or invest more in those in any way. You didn't. Okay, great. still opportunities to make the change, to make those goals a reality, or let's reset the goals. Maybe saving wasn't the idea. Maybe we need to invest a little bit more in that. It's one of those things. Let's look at it. Let's readjust and have a plan based off of what the new goals are being set for the rest of this year.
Well, and I would say celebrate the small victories as well. I mean,
you don't realize that.
All stuff that we've talked about before. So I remember I had a card that was maxed out. It was back when we were dealing with my wife and her illness, and the debt was maxed out. And I remember when I got that particular card below 5 figures. I remember when it went below 10 grand, it went into the 9 grand range. And I was so proud that I had brought it from 5 figures to 4 figures. I didn't go and max it out again, but I went out and I celebrated a little bit for getting that debt from 5 figures down to 4 figures, and then kept paying it off until it was gone. But celebrate the milestones, celebrate the small victories. I think it's all more. I think the biggest analogy for me, the reason that I resonate with this topic is that it's, you clean up your house. It's terrible going through. I hate going through it. I hate cleaning up the house.
No one likes it.
But when it's done, you feel better about it.
You feel decluttered. Less mess. It's cleaner. Whatever the feeling is, and that allows you to have less stress because, wow, I don't have to look at that pile or that closet or that garage, and it's in good shape. And in some cases, challenge yourself where it's like, let's not create the mess again.
Right.
If you're gonna put so much effort into the cleaning, into the getting out of debt, into doing the savings itself, get yourself in a position where, like, how can we not do it again? What's the mindset needed to be able to go, this was great. It was a great exercise, but how do I make sure there's not another mess in 3 months, 4 months, whatever it might be next year?
Yeah. Well, and I'll give you another analogy. We're probably not going to do a very big spring cleaning this year because I've been spending the last year and a half, basically cleaning up the house.
Sure.
From when my wife passed. So we don't have to do as much. It's easier to maintain now that the house has been cleaned. But every morning I make my bed. And it sounds small. There's a book. A retired Navy general, I forget the guy's name, wrote a book about make your bed every morning, something like that. Maybe I'll find the book and I'll post it in the notes. But one of the points that he makes in that book that, again, resonated with me, that's a good analogy for spring cleaning, when I make my bed every morning, it's one of the very first things I do in the morning. It feels like I've accomplished something that day.
Right.
It gets me started for the rest of the day. It's the same analogy with you clean your house before you go on vacation. That way when you come home to a clean house. You do your dishes every night before you go to bed. That way when you wake up in the morning, you've got a clean sink.
That's what I got to do. I got to work on that one.
I got to do that. I missed up on that one. I didn't clean the dishes after dinner last night, but that's the whole analogy of it, is once you get to a point where the house is clean, it's just maintenance after that.
Correct.
Once you get to that point with your finances, it's just maintenance after that.
Yeah, I would agree. These are just little things, not only to declutter, but, the other tip I can make, we've kind of said this before as well, is automate. Make it easier for yourself so that once you do the decluttering and you've got the plan in place, if there's certain things that you can automate a payment, automate a savings, making sure those things are taken care of, that also can make the maintenance a lot easier going forward too.
And sometimes some of these people that are owed the money, like I remember with my student loans, they said if you automate your payments and you make 24 months of straight payments, they would knock off $6,000 off the principal balance. Yep. And that's a no-brainer. Some places will charge you less if you set up on automatic payments. Some places will give you a discount if you set up on automatic payments. Plus, setting up on automatic payments means that I'm never going to have a late payment, so I won't incur the late charges. Correct. You might as well burn the money if you're going to pay late charges.
Well, I mean, you're already paying a lot with interest, so I totally understand that. So let's definitely not give more money away when not needed.
I've always appreciated the saying that, charging somebody a late charge is charging people extra money when they can't afford to pay extra money.
Yeah.
which, but again, I mean, if you're paying late, you're paying. It happens. I've made late payments
we
before.
we all have gone
We've
through
all
that.
made late payments.
Absolutely.
But the more, I remember when I was budgeting with my wife, that was a huge source of savings for us, is she could never keep track of the money in the bank. And so she would get NSF fees, 2-3 NSF fees a month. Now I had enough in my account that I could transfer and cover it. So it's not like we're bouncing checks all over town. But a 2 to 3 $35 NSF fees every month. You're talking about
expensive.
$70 to $100 a
Yeah.
month in NSF charges. That once we got that under control, that saved us, $1,000 a year.
Yeah. And I think those fees are up for going up. So be careful. Definitely, if you can curb those types of behaviors and missteps by just putting some good processes in place for you, I would agree. Don't let's not give away free money. That's just not a good idea. I would no.
No, I think for me it's step number 1 is declutter.
Yep.
Step number 2 is figure out how to reduce or get rid of the things you want to reduce or get rid of, and then step 3 is maintain.
Yeah.
It's easier to maintain it. We joke about spring cleaning because we kind of let the house go over the course of the year. But if we continued to just maintain and tweak and make the bed and do the dishes and we wouldn't have to spring clean as much. And I think the same thing would apply to your finances.
Yeah.
You get your finances under control, get your finances decluttered, get a plan and a budget and a path to becoming debt-free, and then from there it's just maintenance.
It's one of those kind of things. Think about it. If your finances are tidy, right, everything feels lighter. Right. You're not as stressed. You're not as panicked. You're not as worried. I didn't say it was gone completely. I'm just saying your emotions can be where they need to be at that time, where it's just life, family, the things that are more important than just how am I going to pay for something or how am I going to save for something.
Oh yeah. So we're recording this kind of towards the beginning of the month is when we're recording this. I did my personal bills yesterday, and I really pushed it to the last minute where I was like, I wonder if some of these payments are going to get to the creditors on time.
Sure.
But after getting everything set up and putting in all the payments and getting all that stuff done, I felt better.
Yeah.
I felt better because I knew, okay, I got everything covered for the month. I don't have to worry about it anymore, and off we go.
See, I especially with payments, I'm good with the set it like automatic payments, and on this date it's going to come out. But I'm still a little old school with some of my, like I like to, okay, I paid it. It's due on the 15th. Let me make sure I actually put the payment in. So there's no right way or wrong way. It's what, you're comfortable with, but just find a system that works for you. But if you're constantly late on something, automate it, right? If you're worried about how things are, or need to be managed, be a little bit more detailed, get in there and kind of work through your system, whatever works for you. It's just there's different ways to do it, but I think at this point, don't bury your head, and really it's time to really take a look at where you are. And I agree, it's time to make the plan, put the plan in place to start moving forward, so you can feel a little bit better on how you're managing your finances.
Yeah, and if you have questions about budgeting, if you have questions about getting out of debt, if you have, I know a pretty good financial coach I can introduce you to.
You need somebody to help get organized. You need someone who can help you with the numbers, but also the emotions. If there is fear in regards to, I don't want to know about it, or how I'm going to handle this, or how can I talk to my spouse about these things, these are the little things that we need to kind of work through.
Yeah. And I think it's just, there's a lot of people that can get embarrassed by that kind of stuff, but don't be. I mean, I think the other lesson to learn here is that regardless of what your financial condition is, there's somebody in the same boat that you're in. There's somebody that owes more than what you owe. There's people out there that make more money that owe less. But regardless of your situation, there are people in your exact same situation, and there's people that are worse off than you.
Yep.
And I guess I would put worse off in quotes. Yeah. But still, so
you're not alone.
You're not alone, and that's one of the things that I think is most disappointing to me. The thing that really impacts me the most is when I'll be talking to somebody and I'll say, well, how much debt do you owe? And I can see them kind of pull back and say, well, if I tell this guy how much I owe, I'm going to be embarrassed. And, it's not really. It's the same joke of I meet someone that's a dentist and I don't want to smile because I don't want. But they're not judging.
Right.
They're not judging your teeth. Or I meet a hairstylist and I wear a ball cap. It's that same analogy. No one's judging here.
No one's judging, and to be honest with you, it's not. It wouldn't be surprising. I think at this point, you want to. For me, I feel better if you know. And you're accountable to it, and you want to do something about it. I think at this point, if you're still worried about who they're going to look at me differently, or I don't think I can do this, or any of those kind of fears that come with managing your finances, conversation is going to help with that.
Yeah.
We'll help you to really think differently and manage your numbers differently so that you can, start to do things differently with your finances for sure.
Something else that just kind of occurred to me, I would assume that when you're spring cleaning your house, you have one, your job is the garage and your wife is going to handle the kitchen and the girls are going to handle their bedrooms and the bathrooms and whatever. So you divide and conquer.
Absolutely.
You can do the same thing with your finances.
Absolutely.
You could say to the girls, okay, you guys find an expense that we can cut or we can save on. Or you say to your wife, let's figure out something that we can, instead of throwing it away, let's figure out what we can donate or sell in a garage sale. In other words, break up the responsibilities, make something fun out of it.
That's it. I think if you start to include others in the journey, it makes it a lot easier where, again, you're not alone. You're both contributing to the solution. We're both helping each other out. And it makes it a lot easier when we're dealing with those fears.
Right.
And again, hopefully the judgment's gone. When you can talk easily about money, that judgment feeling does go away, or at least gets minimized as part of it. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're not alone.
No.
Help yourself. Get out of this rut. And I think it is a perfect time to kind of jumpstart it. Now that we're past New Year's, right?
Right. Now that I think we're a little bit past New Year's.
A little past. Let's do the spring cleaning so that when you are ready to do the beach weather and you're wearing your two-piece out there, Shawn, that's who I'm focused on.
Me in a two-piece.
You can enjoy being out there.
Me in a
not
two-piece.
Worry about money.
Me in a two-piece is my swim shorts and a hat. Those are my two pieces.
I love it.
The swim shorts and the hat. So I do want to remind everybody that, like I said earlier, we do have the Patreon account, patreon.com/crushingdebt. If you want to help support us in how we do the show, we have interviewed, which we need to talk about. We've interviewed a couple of editors and some people that can maybe do some sprucing up of the show, so that hopefully is coming soon. Again, our friend Sam Cohen of Attorneys First Insurance, if you're an attorney or title company, that's a great way to get some tremendous savings, by the way. If you're an attorney or title company, give Sam a buzz, sam@attorneysfirst.com, and he will tell you apples to apples if he can save you any money on your malpractice coverage. So that's definitely a way to get your bills down. Another way to get your bills down is to donate. You can donate money, you can donate time, you can donate resources. And again, I've decided to do that for the Purple Stride Walk, the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, pancan.org, and you can go to My Legacy Striders is the team. We are now up to almost $5,000 as a team. We're still less than last year. We're still significantly less than last year, but still, 5,000 as a team ain't too shabby.
Not too bad at all. And again, it's going to a great cause for sure.
So that walk, actually, when this episode comes out, that walk will probably be a week or two, maybe even less than that away.
Yep.
So if you want to join my team, that is in the show notes. You can join my team as well.
Nice job.
Thank you. Happy Financial Literacy Month.
I tell you, what's anything you're learning this month? Is there something that you're focusing on?
Financial literacy wise, or just in general?
Well, I'd say financial literacy, because that's the podcast.
Yeah, that is what we talk about, right? So I'll tell you two things. I mean, one thing that I'm always focused on is how do we increase the revenue to the law firm? How do
Good.
we increase the conversion ratio?
Mm-hmm.
So actually, my average value of a client has gone up by almost 50%
Nice.
from this time last year. So I want to keep on that trend of having clients that pay more for the services. And then the conversion ratio. So if I can increase the average value per client
Plus get more.
and can increase the conversion ratio,
That's
that'll be more money to the law firm. So that's what I'm doing from a law firm perspective. From a personal perspective, I got into this kick of reading books about mindset. About one of my biggest challenges is I am too much in my own head.
Yeah.
I am too self-critical. I am too much of just being in my own brain. So I've read a couple of books about how to stop that, how to curb that,
Right.
how to get out of that kind of mental,
Get out of your own way.
get out of my own way.
That's
So
good.
I forget the title of the book that I'm reading. I'll have it for next episode.
Yeah, declutter that brain of yours.
Yeah,
so you can
declutter the
kinda-
brain. A lot of times decluttering my brain will just, one of the things, I've talked about this before, but one of the things that I do on a regular basis is every day I write down what 6 things do I want to accomplish
Sure.
in that day.
Sure.
And frankly, some of them, like today, one of the things I want to accomplish today is knocking out the recording of this podcast episode. Check. But it gives me the mental of, okay, I did something else on the
Yeah.
list. I got a little closer to where I want to be. So how
That
about you?
sense of accomplishment. For me, for business and personal, it's been focusing and navigating through a lot of this turbulent times. You know, everything up and down. You know, people are freaking out. You know, the messaging on the internet and the social medias is all over the place. Whether it's right, it's wrong, this and that, and it's really like, how do we make sure we navigate through this so that we end up on the right side, meaning, on a good turn, keep motivated, keep doing what I need to do from a business and personal standpoint, because you can get really hung up.
You can get lost in the weeds.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to make sure for me mentally is just stay focused. What's our goals from a family? What's my goals from a business? What do I need to do to keep those things moving forward? If that means I need to change or do something different, by all means, I'm very receptive to those kind of things. So that's kind of where I'm at. I understand the noise, but don't get sucked into it. That's what it's not as easy, but it's good to be. I like to be more knowledgeable than ignorant in these situations.
I remember in the days of the mortgage meltdown, I would look at social media headlines, newspaper headlines, whatever, and for my business, it was fantastic because everything was the sky is falling. People were wanting to file bankruptcy left, right, up, and down. I was making a ton of money,
Right.
just because people were listening to all the bad news.
Yeah.
And so, people come to me all the time. Oh, did you hear about blah 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 blah? And
Yeah.
No, I don't, because I don't really, I don't get sucked into the
you don't
social
wanna-
media nonsense. I don't get sucked into the negative news stories.
There you
And
go. Well,
so-
once you, if you do get sucked in, try to find, again, spring cleaning, right? Declutter from the socials for a little while as well. Disconnect from those so that you can get that clarity, get some reset in that mindset, and then you can slowly introduce if you go into that road as well. So, man, this is a great time. It's a great time. Great time, buddy.
Happy Financial Literacy Month, everybody.
Keep learning.
Keep learning.
Invest, save,
Yep.
get out of debt. One day you too could retire
One day
a millionaire.
One day you too can have more money at the end of the month rather than month at the end of the money.
Love it.
And so happy Financial Literacy Month. Happy spring cleaning. Let us know if you do anything that really helps in terms of spring cleaning, decluttering from a financial perspective. I don't necessarily need to know how well you cleaned your house.
Although I don't mind listening to that too.
Well, but if you clean your financial house, definitely
know.
let us know. And we will talk to you in next week's episode of the podcast.